Today's question is, what do a horse and a mule have in common? What comes to mind when you hear the word horse? Powerful, fast, proud and majestic. How about when you hear the word mule? Strong, slow, proud and stubborn. A mule is half horse, so these two animals do have a lot in common, but I think we often focus more on their differences. Yet in Psalm 32, David clearly links the horse and the mule. He instructs us, do not be like the horse or like the mule, which have no understanding, which must be harnessed with bit and bridle, else they will not come near you. What is David saying here? If it weren't for a bit and bridle, you'd likely have a hard time getting either a horse or a mule to do what you ask them to do. There's no guarantee that they'll obey you of their own free will. And David tells us the reason. They have no understanding. No, this doesn't mean they're not intelligent. It means that they don't realize, at least at first, that you mean well, that you don't want to harm them. So what do you need to do with them? You put a bit and bridle on them, and you use these to apply some uncomfortable pressure. Suddenly, they're a lot more likely to obey. David is telling us here, now don't you be like that. In our relationship with the Lord Jesus, should there ever be a need for a bit and bridle? Is there any reason that we should not trust His intentions, His motives, or His love? Can't we trust that He's working all things for good, as He has promised to do? Yet how often has He had to apply uncomfortable pressure to my life before I was willing to submit to Him? Maybe some of you own a horse, and maybe you've worked really hard to train that horse. Maybe over time He's learned to trust you. He understands in His horse way that everything you do to Him and everything you ask of Him is always for good in one way or another. He knows that you won't hurt Him or allow any harm to come to Him. He has come to understand that you're in this thing together. And so He does obey you, at least most of the time, without a bit and bridle. Now, doesn't that make things a lot easier for both you and Him? Doesn't it make life a lot more pleasant and enjoyable for both of you? But some of us are far too free-spirited, more like a Mustang. We like to run ahead of the Lord, free from anything that is limiting. Some of us are more likely to balk. When the Lord tells us to do something, we either hesitate or we're completely unwilling to do it. Some of us might even bite now and again. But David tells us that none of these things is right, and we know it. It's not only in our relationship with the Lord, it spills over into our relationship with anyone in authority over us. But to disobey them is to disobey God. He's the one who tells us to submit to the authorities that He has placed in our lives. We need to be obedient in our actions and in our attitude. And we need to be teachable. And the goal is to do this all without a bit and bridle. Now we might compare the Old Testament law to a bit and bridle. It forced obedience. It applied some pretty serious pressure. Keep my commands and live, it said. Cursed is the one who does not confirm all the words of this law by observing them. The soul who sins shall die. Yes, the Old Testament law was like a bit and bridle. It forced obedience. But then we read in the New Testament, in John 1:17, the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. We now live under grace, and we are to obey not by bit and bridle, but because of love. Love to the one who loved us first. Love to the one who died for us while we were still His enemies. Once we've come to recognize our true north, the cross of Christ, and the pure and perfect love He demonstrated for us there, we should no longer need a bit and bridle to force submission and obedience. Now, all we should need to do is to watch His eyes to see what He wants from us. One verse earlier in Psalm 32, we read, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye. We only need to keep our eyes on Him. Love for the Lord in response to what He has done for us should be all it takes for us to obey Him gladly. Have a wonderful day.